What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It's time for a review of the fourth studio album by rapper J. Cole. Jermaine Cole from North Carolina, just like myself, a definite favorite for me in the world of rap music, especially in a world where I feel like the emphasis on beats and actual hip-hop and storytelling is just thrown by the wayside. J. Cole actually focuses on the heart and soul of hip-hop, and that's what I've appreciated about him, and I've loved seeing his evolution since his debut album, Cole World Sideline Story. The new one is called For Your Eyez Only, and it's a very captivating lesson and one that takes some time to sink in. So please do not judge the book by its cover. Do not think that it's a slower album or a dull album just because you played it one or two times in passing and didn't take the time to decipher the meanings behind the stories. I really found that this was a rewarding lesson once I started paying attention to the lyrical content, thinking about some of the storytelling that Cole was using here, and exactly what he was trying to say. For Your Eyez Only was announced not long ago at all. We obviously got his little fly on the wall documentary that was released on Tidal. If you guys would like to see that, I will link it in the description down below. I highly recommend watching it. Obviously, the majority of you probably know about the two singles that came from that unfortunately were not included on this album, Everybody Dies, and the fantastic track that got everybody talking, seemingly talking about Kanye West, and maybe others that are going through some troubles with their mental health and struggling with just where they are in the world of rap music. That track was called False Prophets, and False Prophets was definitely my favorite of the two, but I loved Everybody Dies as well. It just kind of has a fast-paced, kind of freestyle feel to it, and in terms of For Your Eyez Only, I'd say Change is the track that relates to and reminds me most of that one. Now, I do feel like For Your Eyez Only is an evolution of Cole once again because it takes a different side of storytelling. He's going through somebody else's eyes a lot of the time, but actually paralleling it with his own life, and that's what I find so fascinating here. Now, on this record, you're going to hear about his friend James that died. James McMillan Jr., a friend of his, and some people are saying this is fictional. I personally think it's real, and there are stories that seem to line up with it being real as well. As far as who exactly he was to Cole or when he died, that I'm not going to comment on just because I don't want to seem ignorant, because I really don't know at this point. But I feel like a lot of this album is told through his perspective, especially the closing track, For Your Eyez Only. Now, another huge thing that you're going to notice on this new project is that J. Cole is secretly revealing that he has a daughter now, and obviously he's kind of relating that to the fact that his friend James had a child as well, and he was killed in the streets, got caught up in gang violence, selling drugs, everything like that, caught up in that lifestyle, and he was taken from this world. And what I feel like here is that J. Cole is trying to remind himself throughout this album that he needs to be the man that James was at his heart. He was a good person even though he did bad things. He was out there trying to fight these urges, as he talks about on the title track that closes out this record. He's trying to fight the urges to steal a bike and pawn it, or just start selling drugs again, or whatever the urge might be. He wanted to be a better person for his daughter, and I feel like Cole is wanting to do the exact same thing here. And all throughout these 10 tracks in 45 minutes, I'm finding that we get a nice balance in terms of the instrumentation and the lyrical content as well. It's definitely varied. It goes from a little bit more aggressive on tracks like Immortal, where he's really detailing like his life and talking about death, which is a recurring subject all throughout this album that I find really interesting, because before he's talked about it in a different way, but now he kind of seems focused on it, like honed in, because he sees friends of his like James dying and he thinks about his own mortality. And a lot of people are having theories out there saying it's somehow related to Mortal Man from Kendrick Lamar's most recent album, To Pimp a Butterfly. I don't necessarily see that as being the case, but take it and explore with what you will. I feel like there's a lot of fan theories out there, but for me, I feel like you need to take the album at surface level first. It's only been out for a short amount of time right now. Maybe you're watching this video way down the road and there's been more time to decipher, but I really feel like we need to kind of take it for what it is. And it seems to be a story where he's trying to take examples from his friend's life or other people's lives and apply it to himself. And that's what I find very entertaining about it. Now, in terms of the production that I was talking about. I like it. It's got some nice, clean hip-hop production. There's ones that are a little bit more in your face. There's ones that are a little bit more soulful as well. I love the instrumentation on the almost jazzy She's Mine parts 1 and 2. Obviously, those correlate. I love the storytelling there. It seems like he's kind of talking to a daughter, and obviously we have that kind of interpolation of an actual daughter, a little girl speaking, and I really enjoy that as well. I feel like that's kind of hinting at something, and it seems to be a big clue as to what a lot of this album is about. But then again, I could just be speculating there. Now, all throughout here, you're going to notice kind of this funky bass groove that keeps popping back up once again, and Cole's flows on this record, I feel like line up perfectly. The first few times I listened through, I did feel like it was a bit downtrodden, and there were some tracks that really rejuvenated the energy there, but I feel like the emphasis here is more on the lyrical content. Sure, like I mentioned, there's ones that are a little bit more up-tempo, and I enjoy those tracks. Ville Mentality is another one that falls into that category, along with Immortal. Even the intro track, For Whom the Bell Tolls, the second half of that one really just gets a little bit more aggressive, and I love seeing the flow on that one. He's kind of describing, once again, death and relating it to everything that's going on here on the majority of the album. Now, Cole doesn't just seem focused on death, and I don't want you guys to think that I'm only thinking he's talking about that and every song is somehow just about that, or else his new daughter, or else his friend's life or daughter. I think there's a lot of situations that can be applicable to other scenarios, and that's what makes this album so transparent in a way, because there's different ways to interpret it, and I think that's a kind of a beautiful thing at its core. I really enjoy everything that's going on here, and the more that I listen to it, I feel like the more I kind of sink into that state of mind where he's coming from. He wants to be that person that he needs to be, and we see that on the track Folding Clothes. I love that one. It's so throwback in terms of its feel, kind of a little bit of like 70s R&B flavor, I feel like, in a way, mixed with maybe some like 90s production choices as well. The bass on it is so catchy. The chorus as well. I want to fold clothes for you. I want to do the right thing. Feels so much better than doing the wrong thing. It's just, you get into such a good mood whenever you listen to that, and you see here where he's talking about the heart of his friend and himself as well. I feel like wanting to be that person for his wife, which he quietly married in 2015. And if you want to look into his wife's story, it's actually a pretty interesting one. They're actually doing great things together. I don't know, I just really like J. Cole and his personality and him as a person. Just watch some of the few interviews that he does, because he's very against like social media and even doing interviews and that sort of thing. But if you watch like his house tour of 2014 Forest Hill Drives, an album that I fucking love, by the way, and it just grew on me more and more the more I listened to it. Such an entertaining and captivating listen. But if you watch his video that he did on his childhood home, you really see the passion that he has for music, and the documentary as well, that really just details why he's doing this. And obviously he doesn't care about Twitter or Instagram. He's barely ever on there, maybe tweeting out links to his album whenever it drops and that sort of thing. He's here for his family, and he's here for the fucking music, as he said in that little interview there, or else in the documentary. It was one of those. It's a little bit hard to explain how I've become so kind of enthralled and entertained by this album, because at first I was thinking underwhelming and a little bit dull here and there. The lyrics maybe aren't quite on point with his most recent record, 2014 Forest Hill Drive. But now, as I'm listening through it, I find all the little nuances, all the little details, everything that he sprinkled in. And I'm not going to praise it as the best rap album of the year necessarily, or the best that Jermaine has ever done, but it's definitely up there, and I really, really appreciate what he's doing here, taking the time in a world where we are all so caught up in material things. J. Cole is actually keeping it real and down to earth. And even on the track Neighbors, where he's talking about now that he's got that white picket fence life that he wanted so bad, supposedly, on Forest Hill Drives, he's rapping about that. And now he's got that, but now the neighbors think he's selling dope. And I feel like that's kind of a metaphor. He brings up things like gun violence and obviously the racial profiling that they deal with cops and everything like that in modern America. But he talks about the neighbors think that he's doing something wrong because he's moved into their neighborhood. it's a black guy, and obviously people start assuming things. And I love the fact that the whole time he's singing on the hook, well, motherfucker, I am, is how he follows it up. The neighbors think I'm selling dope. Well, motherfucker, I am. The beat on this thing is fantastic. Very, very captivating on Neighbors. I think that was one of my favorite ones on the entire record. There's ones that go a little bit harder than others. I already mentioned kind of the jazzy affectation that he has on ones like She's Mine, Part 1 and 2 that I love. For Your Eyez Only is another great one that really lures you in. And of course, Immortal as well, that really just captivates you. And obviously the catchiness of Deja Vu is hard to ignore as well. One of the best tracks, hands down. No features in Platinum once again. I definitely think he's coming for it. He did it last time, and obviously that worked for him. His label that he founded alongside Roc Nation, which he's signed to, clearly believe in the passion that he has. And I have seen some people confused. They're saying, oh, I thought there weren't any features, when there actually are other credited vocal guests like Ari Lennox and a few others that are signed to like his Dreamville label, but clearly they're not actually featured guests if they're not credited on the track. They might have like some backing vocals, they help out with a hook here and there, but once again, he's done it with no features. He's come through with a really, really entertaining listen, something that would definitely make you emotional, especially if you're about to be a new parent or something like that. I'm not gonna lie, I shed a tear one time whenever I was listening to She's Mine Part 2, just hearing about everything that he was going through there, kind of like he was talking to himself, and of course his little daughter that was just born recently as well. It's really something. It's a journey, that's what I'm gonna say. So For Your Eyez Only, is it worth listening to? Most definitely. Definitely pay attention to the lyrical content, definitely pay attention to the production choices, because they're all smart and very calculated, but at the same time they feel very natural because the emotions and what he's feeling is real. Overall, I'm really liking this project. I'm gonna go with a strong 4 out of 5 for Your Eyez Only by rapper J. Cole. Thanks for watching my J. Cole review today. Don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, because friends don't let friends go unsubscribed. You can check right here to see my last J. Cole review or another rap review right here. We're in the middle of year-end list season, so bear with me through all the craziness. Social media linked in the description. I'll see you guys very soon right here on ARTV.